conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So it's that. She's got the time. She's her own traffic. She's like, it's 2 days here. Okay, yeah, that's your vacation was one of them. The vacation every week. That's right. Are we all ready to start? Okay. Well, welcome everyone. I call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to get up there.
There. I say Matt's got a flag.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We will have public comment next. Is there anyone in the audience today who wanted to give public comment? We would have 2 minutes. I don't see anyone. Is there anyone online who would like to give public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment. Move on to council member announcements. Does anyone have any announcements? Anyone you want to introduce that maybe we brought along or? I will introduce Chris Conway, who is the new, I didn't bring him along. He came on his own. But Chris Conway is a new council member who will represent Fort Collins on the NPO. So welcome.
Welcome. Congratulations. Thank you.
And then who is the alternate?
And Nelson.
And Nelson will be the alternate. So. All right.
Oh wait, then I'll do a shout out too because Ron Steinbach, my Mayor Pro Tem, is here, so I'm gonna make sure he takes a bite before he waves. So just wait. There you go.
All right, wonderful. So we will move on to the consent agenda. We have only one item on the consent agenda is approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve, or if anybody would like to remove it? Any discussion about the consent agenda?
All second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion passes. All right, we will move on to the air quality agenda. Our first item is the Air Pollution Control Division, which is a written report. And then next we have the NFRMPO Air Quality Program updates from Dina Wojcik from 2 Roads Environmental. Is Dina online? All right, Dina.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We can.
Wonderful. So, yes, good evening. I'm Dina Wojcik with 2 Roads Environmental, here to share January's air quality highlights for the work that I've been doing in support of council. Please note that although I am a RAC board member, I am here tonight as your consultant. All right. So in January, we saw the Air Quality Control Commission set a rulemaking hearing that includes a proposal to increase fees, and this is going to be quite controversial. And I think the division needs the Air Pollution Control Division needs those fees to take effect as of July 1, 2026. So this is going to be a fast process and something I think a number of folks are going to be tracking. The Air Pollution Control Division highlighted air quality, an air quality success story for Colorado in bringing several areas throughout the state into attainment for PM10, particulate matter smaller than 10 microns. So I'm just highlighting that because we often talk about all the negative air quality issues, and I just want to highlight this as yet another air quality success story. We had something like this related to carbon monoxide that affected your area. The division moved forward with bringing that area into attainment as well, working closely with the NFRMPO. All right, we also saw the 2026 legislative session kickoff. I'm sure you're much more aware than I am of what's going on. I just wanted to highlight a couple of air quality, energy, or transportation related bills of interest. In particular, there's SB 2622 that provides extensions to utilities subject to 80% reduction of greenhouse gases by 2030. There's a number of utilities that we're relying on some federal funds to put renewables in place. Those federal funds evaporated, and so they are trying to figure out what else to do and understand. Try to come up with a plan that works for them. And so that requires adjustment to some of the timelines that are currently in statute. We also saw SB 2621 that came out of the Transportation Legislative Review Committee. It expands the Clean Fleet Enterprise Authority. And it gives them public and private fleet operators, allows them to update their fleets. And so the Clean Fleet Enterprise gets more authority in supporting those efforts. All right, moving on to page 2 then, we had SB 2603 that's related to recycling of electric vehicle batteries. So there's a transportation nexus on that one. All right, moving on beyond that and some of the other air quality activities. Two Roads Environmental, we screened comments and researched potential impacts of the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration's proposal that came out in December. And in a nutshell, it changes some classifications and ultimately changes fuel economy standards for light duty and vehicles, beginning with model years 2022. So we're in 2026, so it's retroactively applying these fuel economy standards. And while they're trying to help some of the manufacturers meet some of the greenhouse gas requirements they had for manufacturing vehicles, there's some unintended impacts that can come out of this, unintended consequences. And so when you are reducing fuel economy standards, you are effectively increasing the amount of emissions that can come out of vehicles. And especially if you're applying this retroactively, which normally is illegal, it can create some problems from here and into the future, because those values, those fuel economy standards, they get plugged into models, various models, whether it's EPA's MOVES model, or I think maybe even the CMAQ model that is relied upon in transportation planning. Those fuel economy standards translate to higher emissions. And so if entities are relying on those standards to kind of help and meet things like motor vehicle emission budgets, demonstrating that they're meeting conformity requirements, as well as then more SIP related things in terms of, hey, we've modeled attainment because we were banking on these kinds of reductions in the fleet. You can't rely on those anymore. And so this, I think, has a number of unintended consequences. And so we spent some time kind of digging into that. There were a couple of comments that I highlighted in the document itself. The deadline to submit comments was just yesterday. I did notice that there is a pretty all-encompassing comment letter that I'm going to drop a link for in the chat. that kind of talks about, motor vehicle, the impacts to motor vehicle emission budgets and SIP planning and all of those kinds of things. So I'm going to drop that in the chat here in a second. All right, so then moving on. I think I'm going to stop there and take any questions or see if Elizabeth Relford wants to add anything.
Thank you, Dina. So, based on the schedule, I could not come to you guys in time to get your input and feedback on this public comment for these standards. So I just submitted a generic letter requesting a time extension of 60 days to be able to bring this to you to vet this through, our public process channels. So Dina said that she would help monitor kind of the comments and where they go with this. I just don't feel like we've had enough time as a council for you to be able to really digest the implications that this could have in our region. And it was just such a fast turnaround that I felt like it was too, even when you look at what's in your report with all the great information Dina provided, it's complicated. And so, not really sure where this is going to land with this, but it would impact our region, I would say, from an air quality perspective, that we would have, that we will see what kind of comes out of it. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that I did go and just, the only public comment on behalf of our organization that was submitted was requesting a time extension.
That makes sense.
Any questions? Any questions about anything that Dean presented? I have a couple questions. So Dina, when you said that the AQCC is considering an increase in emission fees, are those fees that are paid by industry? Is that is that fees on cars for emissions? Where would we see those impacts?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you're going to see those fees, as I understand it, you're going to see it increased in like reporting of emissions. So the industry has to report annual emissions from their activities. It also is going to be related to like the forms that they use, like just the filing fees for those, like an air pollution emission notice, or maybe they call it something else now. But anyway, the form that they use and the routine filing. So you're going to see kind of across the board on the report, the forms that they're using to report emissions, as well as the annual assessment of emission fees. And I know that several comments have come up just in setting the request for rulemaking hearing itself, and people, wanting to, and one commissioner in particular, I think Commissioner Miller, is asking for a kind of a summary of all the fees that Colorado industry has to pay, because that's been a question. It's not just in the form of, filing, routine reports or paying for annual emission fees, but it's also in the form of the fees that go to the various enterprises and that kind of thing. So we're going to hear a lot more about that. She's directed the division staff to come back with more information.
And then I guess my other question around the lowering of the standards for fuel economy, is that, you said it's going to affect our modeling, but like a lot of that is dictated by the state. So do we have any idea what the state response is going to be to that? Will there be a state response to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, there was a state comment letter that was submitted. I will try to track that one down as well and get you a comment. That wasn't quite as, it was? Yes, thank you. Okay, so the state, both Colorado Energy Office and CDOT jointly submitted a comment letter, and they do allude to, increased pollution leading to, negative public health impacts. They don't really go into the same detail as the link to the National Association of Clean Air Agencies comment letter that I highlighted. So the state did submit comments, but they didn't really go into detail at all about SIP planning, motor vehicle emission budgets, conformity lapses, any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so what does it mean that it's retroactively applied, like 2020 to 2022? So I don't really understand. I mean, those vehicles are already out on the market, and I mean, why would it be applied retroactively? I mean, what would be the benefit? Would it be that, yeah, I mean, I was trying to guess, but I'm not going to.
So my understanding is that manufacturers were responsible for manufacturing a certain number of, let's just say, climate-friendly vehicles, like electric vehicles. I don't know if it's hydrogen, all of those kinds of things. And then they had to meet those corporate, I think, CAFE standards for the fleet that they had. And so they're having a hard time meeting those. And as a result, then this administration is trying to help them out by lowering those fuel economy standards retroactively. That's my high level understanding of what that does. I could certainly look into that further if you'd like.
No, I was just curious, maybe because they hadn't met those, and maybe there's some kind of penalty that, and then they wouldn't have to pay the penalty or something like that.
But there's a legality issue there. I mean, if you go through the comments that have been submitted, there's a legality question that they actually have the authority to be able to retroactively go back and talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see what the court says. Councilmember Jenkins, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just don't understand what specifically what the scientific or rational basis is for reducing it to 25% lower than what it was 6 years ago. I mean, it just, it doesn't make sense, other than apparently it's going to cause everybody to basically pump more oil and burn more gas and create more pollution. And it's not clear what the benefit is or what the rationale is for doing it. So, unless somebody can provide that, I know
We'll take a shot. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah.
I mean, at least, and I'm not defending it, but from my understanding that the whole point of this was to reduce the overall cost of the vehicle for more people to be able to afford it. It's an affordability move. I have no idea about pumping additional oil. I'm certain that it's not to, at least the explanation again that I've heard, is not necessarily to try to pollute more, but it's a stab at what is hurting Americans right now, and that's the affordability of everything. And so that's my understanding. Maybe Mr. James has further explanation.
So by what I understand, by what I've read, doing so retroactively gives them a wider window in which they can average that over, so to speak. Bottom line is, the automobile manufacturers were producing automobiles to meet this CAFE standard, and nobody bought them. And so therefore they were going broke. Now, if you believe in the automobile industry as a job creator and an economic stimulator in the United States economy, which I certainly do, and you want to save that, then you have to take him out of manually producing a vehicle that nobody wants. Go buy any car dealership and see what's sitting on the lot. They'll make you a hell of a deal, Bill. So that's their reasoning was one of economics.
Yeah, I just would, I mean, it's going to cost more to run the vehicles as well if they.
But that's consumer choice. If you want one of them good ones, you can get a heck of a deal on the lot right now.
I mean, I understand that, and I think the economic aspects are certainly important, but I'd like a more in-depth overall understanding of the details.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure, I mean, so just high level, how it impacts our region too is if you lower these, it's essentially could increase the emissions. So these numbers get automatically put into the MOVES model that then generates what we have to do for conformity, which will increase the emissions, which could then affect our conformity determination for our region, which then could affect our transportation funding. So that's kind of the domino effect by lowering it that impacts our region.
I mean, maybe 49 is not the right target, but, I don't know, 30 is way down, it's 25% below what, the prior administration set, 2020. And nobody was complaining about the price of vehicles back then.
So I guess we'll just see how that affects us here at the MPO level with regard to, you know, any of our modeling that we're doing around emissions or the non-attainment area, I mean, GHGs. So I think that there's a lot of unknowns at this point of what that looks like. And so I think we'll take our lead from what the state can find out and what happens. So people were allowed to put in comment, and then will there be some rulemaking or some decision making about whether that moves forward after those comments are heard? Is that how that works?
Yes, so they go through a proposal process and then they turn around, they take the comments and then they have to respond to the comments that were submitted in a final action. And so I do believe EPA, or not EPA, NHPITSA needs to act fairly quickly because I think there's some compliance obligations that they need to alleviate before those deadlines come to pass. So we're going to see a final action. I will highlight when we do see that, and we'll dig into the comments and the responses.
Okay, thank you. And then Elizabeth, you asked for an extension to be able to provide comments. Do you know when you would hear about that, or you don't know if that'll even happen?
I don't, and so that would probably be part of the final action.
Okay.
We would know if so, and I mean, there's over 5,000. I don't know what they're up to now, if they're up to 6,000, but there were a lot of comments that they have to go through. So do I think that my one comment about asking for a time extension, you know, is going to happen? Probably not.
Don't short sell yourself.
So if it does, you know, I guess we can wait to see what happens, and then if it did and we were allowed to give comments, I don't know that we could maybe come to consensus on that, but we could see.
Sure.
But let's wait to see if we would even get that extension. No point in discussing it now. So any other questions for Dina before we let her go?
Thank you, Dina.
Thanks, Dina.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.
Thanks, you too. Okay, so Regional Air Quality Council did not meet in January, meets tomorrow. Non-attainment area air pollution mitigation enterprise did not meet in January, meets February 26th. We're cooking. Report of the chair. Well, I already introduced Councilmember Conway. I don't have anything else to report. So we will move to Executive Director report.
All right, thank you. A couple of things I just want to highlight. We did, as you recall, you guys did support submitting a letter to Division of Transit and Rail regarding supporting bus tank service. DTR was great. They not only responded to your letter, they provided comments to every point that was provided in the letter. They set up a meeting with staff last Friday and met with us and went over, staff took the time to go through their comments so that we could talk about all of the issues that were brought up related to, you know, like paper, tickets and things like that to help improve the service. And so I would say it was very positive overall. The discussion did come up about how they want to look at a long-term funding, sustainable funding plan for bus tank service, because as many of you know, the discussions that have been happening are that any new I-25 project can't happen if CTI doesn't fund $40 million worth of bus tank service here on out. That's annually. So we did talk about if there's other funding sources that they could use besides CTIO, and they said they hadn't had that conversation internally, and so that they would, I guess, start having that conversation if there's any other funding sources that would be an option for them. But we do anticipate legislation is going to come speaking to that. We just don't know when that's going to drop. So I just remind you that the 10-year plan comments do close on Monday, on February 9th. It's a form, so I think that what you'll be surprised that you don't attach a letter. It's really one of those, you agree, you strongly disagree, you're neutral, and you have a comment. So there isn't a lot to probably the form. It would be very easy for your staffs to go in and fill it out. And you know, I think as a region, we've been really supportive of our Region 4 partners for their 10-year plan efforts, and I would just really encourage all the communities to go in and support the Region 4 10-year plan before the 9th, before Monday. If you want a link to that form, I think council members send you that link in email, but I can resend it out if you need it. We talked about the NHTSA comment letters. So the other thing, I just will let you know that we did go ahead and award the audit services RFP to STA out of Washington, D.C. So we have our kickoff meeting with them on Tuesday. This is not the same auditing firm that we've been using for the last 5 years. So we'll see how this year goes and if we can meet the schedule. So we're excited to get that kicked off. We are also in the process of going through our RFPs for our IT services. I again want to thank Councilmember Jenkins. He participated in reviewing 16 proposals. We received 16 proposals. And so careful what you volunteer to be a part of. But I really appreciated it. Our scoring team did get it down to 3 firms. We have reached out to set up interviews for those 3 firms, and we'll conduct those the same week as President's Week. So hopefully we'll have somebody under contract by the beginning of March. Last week, we also met with our Intermountain NPO air quality team. And one of the things that I think is really exciting that we discussed with that group, these are our other surrounding state NPOs, is the opportunity to host a regional ozone background conference. And so I think for this year, for 2026, that would be a great goal for our organization if we could somehow figure out how not just to have Colorado be the host for the conference, but Northern Colorado. I think it would be great if we could kind of have you guys helping that leadership for our other NPOs to really help start the conversation with what we need to do with our academic and scientific partners, talking about the science behind the background ozone issues that we have in our region. So I've been working with Dina. She's actually developed a draft agenda that we're using to kind of circulate for the discussions, but she's been a great facilitator to reach out to our Westar partners, some of our other agencies, to really, now we're kind of in the discussion of what would it cost to put on a 2-day conference. And the goal being that we would try and do something maybe in September, I would say towards the fall. Or if there's an opportunity, like say Westar does their annual conference, maybe we could get them to agree to do it up here rather than doing wherever they were planning on doing it. So we're still trying to work through that, but the other MPOs were really supportive and said that they would be willing to come. We've had a conversation, as I mentioned, when we met with EPA, that they would be willing to participate, not willing to fund, but willing to participate and partner with us on attending and having the dialogue with those conversations. I just think with Northern Colorado, CSU, UNC, some of our other academic groups, that it would be such a great opportunity for us.
It would be, I think it'd be really great if we could actually have it like at CSU or Colorado campus, on campus, so it has more of an academic feel to it.
Yeah, we had talked about the range, but we could look at that.
Spitball number, what's the cost?
So we're still trying to figure out, depending on who would come and, you know, who we need. I don't have
I mean,
a
are you
firm
paying for
number.
their hotel rooms, airfare, all that kind of stuff?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say really, I mean, for some of the people that we would need to present that would come from out of state, there could be some cost associated there. You know, if we can get a ranch or someplace that's, you know, a reduced price, I mean, I think we could do this very affordably. It would really be more of food, you know, if you're doing 2 days, now we're looking at almost like breakfast, lunch, and maybe dinners on their own, and then breakfast the next day. Because it would be more like a day and a half is what I'm thinking. But if we didn't have to do like a conference center, then we could save a lot of money.
It might not sponsor.
Okay, all right. That's kind of where Dean is at right now, is we're really trying to look at who would be willing to help us with sponsorship. But I just, you know, we haven't really had a chance to dialogue about that. I just think it would be a great opportunity for our region to host something like that. And I guess I just wanted to make sure you guys think we're kind of on the same page, heading in the same direction.
On that same question, how many would be attending? I mean, how many people would you feel that
So
would be?
yes, that's a great question here. And I think that's really kind of determining, we're trying to figure out what that scope would be. I mean, I think from my perspective, we want to get as many people involved as possible in that conversation. I think really what is the goal and the outcome we're trying to do, and that's really to try and help the science drive the decision making. And so how are we really getting our scientists in the room, everybody saying the same thing and understanding the same science? And I think that where I'm thinking this could lead is how can we take advantage maybe if a future air quality enterprise study that would help us specific for background ozone that could speak to, you know, the decisions that would help, you know, make the policy direction that you guys need for future, you know, SIPs and so forth. Strategies, air quality strategies. When you go and meet with the RAC and you're having to put together your strategies, you know, what data are we using to inform that? Because right now, what we're seeing, and you guys, I know you know this so well, is that every ozone precursor that we've really been implementing, you know, they're going down, but our ozone isn't correlating our background. And so we really haven't, you know, what can we do with topography, with weather, and things that we are beyond our control? How do we study the science on that to come up with the strategies that you guys need as policymakers to say these are the best bang for our buck with what we can actually control? So that's the thinking on it.
What's that?
Are you guys, it sounds like you guys are still supportive if Dean and I worked on that?
Very much so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. And let's see, included in your handouts are, the mobility team has done a great job. We have the new poster for this year over here so that you can see their mission for their mobility for all. I wanted to have them share that with you. I think it looks great. They left some, so we're also doing our joint, you know, NPO, Ride NoCo swag over there. So if you want some swag, you got to come to an event. So, we're willing to share it. Unless Mayor Parsons already stole the pen. Some great things too that they've done is really looked at some opportunities for budget savings with some of our websites. So the mobility team is transitioning our Right No Code platform to a different platform. We're going to see some budget savings for that, and it's going to give them the opportunity to maintain the website themselves and not have to go through a third party. It's going to be more efficient for the team. So we're really excited about where that's going to lead. You're also going to be hearing, and so all these handouts are also in your packet, We're also going to, Tanya did a great job of applying for a CDPHE mini safety grant. So you're going to start hearing a safety thing. We're going to be talking safety a lot this year into next year. So you just, which I know is, you know, from a transportation perspective, you know, top of mind for everybody. So the mobility team did apply for an $8,125 mini safety grant, and this would be so that staff could conduct a community safety fair this summer. There's no local match required, so we'll find out if they're successful with that. Michaela is working on a CDOT traffic safety grant. They presented those, that grant cycle at STAC today, and so it's just opened up. It'll close in March, but this would be kind of our conversation where we want to talk safety as a region with our partners, not just like our communities, but our first responders, our school districts. And we would hope that we could be successful in getting this grant to host a Northern Colorado Safety Roundtable next year. So that would be a 2027 kind of thing where we could all come together and bring our partners together and talk safety and what's important for our region and what we're doing to reduce fatalities in our region. So that's kind of a 2027 highlight. These are that if we get the grant, we'll be coming back to you guys on that one. So those are just some of the things that staff's been working really hard and super busy. So we appreciate the council's continued support.
Any questions for us? We're off the hook.
All right.
So we will move on in our agenda to the CTIO presentation. Is Tricia Canonical online?
She's right here.
Oh, she's here.
We have John chapter.
Right. So,
I'm in the back for the first time. It was our meeting was the end of January or middle of January, and the first item on the agenda was to welcome a new board member, which was me. It was a very small agenda. We just had a final budget allocation plan for tooling equipment, finance agreement, and then we had a joint work session with the transportation commissioners. And we were looking at Region 1, Region 2, and Region 4, and they were highlighting different projects throughout each of the regions for the 10-year plan. So I just thought I'd share a few of the Region 4 projects that they highlighted, and one was Colorado 14 intersection safety improvements, Colorado 52 operational safety and multimodal improvements, I-76 Kingsburg overlay preservation, Colorado 59 north of Kit Carson, US 287 Kit Carson to BAPS. But that's US 34, US 287 intersection safety and multimodal improvements, and then the I-25 segment for Colorado 70, Colorado 66. So we joined in for that portion, and any questions?
any questions? Our Transportation Commissioner, Cecil Gutierrez, is there anything you wanted to add? I guess not. Okay, just left. I was like, I'm out of here. Cecil, he does have a report, so hopefully he'll rejoin us. All right, well, thank you. Thank you, Tricia. So, as long as you're here, Front Range Passenger Rail District and John Mallon is going to start some joint presentation.
Okay, can you hear me?
Thank you, Cecil. Is there anything you wanted to add to what Tricia has spoken about?
I am having a hard time hearing the people in the room, so I'm not sure what all Tricia covered, but I'm sure she did a terrific job, and I will defer until I get to my commissioner's report, and so thank you, but thank you for asking.
Thank you, Cecil. All right. John,
all right. Cecil, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Basically, I'm going to go over some highlights, lowlights maybe, of the January meetings we had. We had 3 meetings. We had 1 meeting late November with RTD. All of the passenger rail board members and all the RTD members are required to meet once a year, so we did that in downtown Denver and did that in late December. But in January, we had a meeting, actually it was a Colorado Rail meeting. Not familiar with Colorado Rail, Colorado Rail, there's no D in it. It goes way back to when they first redid the Union stations, the precursor, all the passenger rails. So they did a little dog and pony show. It was at the governor's mansion, and the governor was there. He gave a talk for several of them. So it was quite interesting. The place was full, standing room only.
went all the way back into the hallway. So there's a lot of interest, positive interest, so that's always good. But some of the highlights is, and some of this might be repetitive for you all. I hope it's not too repetitive, but the whole plan is to ask voters in our 13 Front Range counties to approve a ballot measure to fund passenger rail service between Trinidad and Fort Collins with 10 rounds of trips a day. You may know that as the full service plan. The ballot measure is conditional on RTD providing funds for a starter service, which would be between Denver and Boulder by 2020. That's not changed. Station planning has begun in Denver, Westminster, Broomfield, Louisville, Boulder, Longmont, Loveland, and Fort Collins. Obviously, those are the northern stations. 3 of those you may not know about were added probably within the last month, and that's Westminster, Broomfield, and Louisville. So they expanded the region in northern Colorado. The full service won't begin planning until after the starter service has begun. A budget of $885 million has been set for the starter service. RTD's portion has not yet been determined. The RDT is very critical in what we're going to do because they've invested money and they haven't built anything between Denver and Boulder as promised. And so we all got to come together and figure out who's going to pay for what and how much it's going to cost. We're working on a rail sharing agreement with Burlington Northern. You can imagine how that's going. They say it's going well, but you know, between ditch companies and railroads, it's difficult, right? So imagine what kind of negotiations we're having. Believe it or not, the Broncos reached out to us and they want to add service for football games. Obviously, it won't be for a few seasons yet, but they reached out to us with a new stadium, stopping the new stadium, which I thought was fantastic. Especially in northern Colorado, it may not be a big deal or something like that. Northern Colorado needs to do something. The county firm has been hired to determine current estimated costs, and planning has begun for outreach on various outreach endeavors. Your new role, your project?
Oh, for the outreach?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've also hired on an outreach team, so they'll be getting on sign-up letters for advancing Front Range passenger rail in the different communities, not supporting the ballot measure, there's distinction there, but just supporting advancing projects. And so we're doing sign-up letters from organizations and individuals, and then also setting up town halls for each of the communities that will have a station.
So that's coming. That's what I wanted in the wording.
And so I am going to be doing the outreach. I've been hired on to do the outreach and support on. If anyone has any questions about it,
Thank you. Real quickly, January 23rd, we had a monthly board meeting. That's mostly administrative stuff, contracts, presentations, that kind of thing. We also had, I don't know if it's going to be an annual thing, probably will when it's out. We had a board retreat on the 29th. We talked about station area and partnerships between the communities and rail and MOU frameworks. That's going to have to be done. We talked about naming and branding. Believe it or not, we've already narrowed it down to 2 choices. I was asked earlier what they are, and I can't remember. It's got Colorado. It's got Front Range in it and some sort of. Sorry about that, but it's public knowledge. I just can't. Go ahead.
So Cocoa, Colorado Connector, Colorado Ranger, or I'm waiting to see what all your faces do when I say this one. Fred.
What is it?
Fred.
FRD.
Fred's good.
Yeah, I know, it'll take
Fred's good.
first, so.
Yeah.
First one was on.
So more to come on that. Hasn't been finalized yet. But we'll see.
Are you gonna go and
You know how that goes, right?
What's Treasurer from?
Stands for that.
Yeah,
Does it? So we talked about that, the outreach, board engagement, and we had an update. Talked a lot about the ballot access plan updates. In order to get on the ballot, you can imagine what needs to be done. And a lot of committees and signed a lot of contractors, third-party vendors to help us with all needs to be done. There's, probably heard this before, there's milestones in place to get us on the ballot and actually June, July, it is, but a lot to be done. If we can get it on the ballot, it doesn't happen, we'll just have to wait until next. We have got a lot of people doing a lot of things, so a lot of activity.
Curiosity, ballot access, can the state legislature refer you on to the ballot?
Good point. That's not been discussed. That is an option. Right?
Sure you get there.
Yeah.
And I would say that an important piece too is that we have reserved a late bill to determine the boundaries of the district. So there's
So I have to go down there and fight some more.
Yeah, you can get me out. Yeah. I got right up. I get you.
So
First night.
it's looking at just taxing the communities that have the stations.
Or county.
But if you write it, your tickets might be more.
That's all I have.
Just all we.
Any
Thank you.
questions?
Any questions? I have a question. When?
Chair, Chair Stevens?
Yes, please.
Sorry, this is Cecil Gutierrez. Hey, I just had wanted to just quickly add that the joint services agreement is about to be finalized. We have a meeting scheduled for the boards of CTIO, CTE, the Clean Transit Enterprise, the Transportation Commission, RTD, and we'll receive the final numbers that have been negotiated, at least the draft numbers. So for the Denver Union Station to Fort Collins leg. So that meeting will take place on February 24th. And so we hope to have much better numbers and better idea of where we're at with that north line. So just wanted to give you that update on that part of it. Thank you.
Is the joint services agreement the agreement between RTD and then the Front Range Passenger Rail? Is that the two entities that are part of that joint services, or does it include BNSF in that? I guess joint feels too.
You're looking at
I'm sorry.
I was just wondering which parties are involved in the joint services agreement. So I know RTD is, and then I believe Front Range Passenger Rail. Are there other entities that are involved in that agreement?
Yes, CTIO.
CTIO.
And CTE, which is the Clean Transit Enterprise, are the key funding partners. Transportation Commission. So those are the key players in that joint services agreement.
And has the agreement been worked out with BNSF for, no, yeah,
that's yes, they've been negotiating all of these numbers and everything. That's what we're going to hopefully see the draft on February 24th. So yeah, this is everything that Burlington Northern will want, and so we'll know the numbers, and that draft agreement will be presented to all of those boards the end of February.
Okay. Do we know when the town halls are going to be scheduled yet?
I am working on that now.
Okay.
So I hope to chat with you for the Buffalo one. But hopefully in the next few weeks we'll know, and I can reach out to
And NPO members will be invited up.
Yeah. So I can bet you out what the plan is for those town halls and who we want to have speak. And there'll be an engineering presentation to really get into the technical detail. And I am I just got hired on Tuesday, so I'm
Sure.
working on getting everything.
When Elizabeth and I were at the 287 coalition meeting, because every quarter has a coalition now. It's a lot of meetings. And Sal did a presentation. I mean, it would be nice if you would come to the NPO and do that same presentation. Okay, that'd be great. Okay. Well, it's in Fort Collins. We're in Fort Collins at the county building in March, so it doesn't have to be that time, but it could be, another time. I think it would be good. Because he's got the slideshow, and
Sure.
I think especially since we have a lot of new members on the board, that would be good for everybody to get.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
we'll be on the same
Sorry.
We'll all get on the same track. I'm gonna use a lot of same names. All right. Any other questions? Well, thank you. Thank you. Doug.
Thank you.
Okay, so, let's see. Finance committee is written. Although I will say we didn't have quorum, I noticed in the minutes. Who is on the finance committee right now? Liz is chair.
I
And then anyone else?
No, they're just three.
And there's just three, but
Three
there's-
of us, but
Matt didn't get the invite, it went
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Oh.
So he didn't know that he was supposed to be there, he didn't get it. So
Okay, well,
we just said we'll just approve minutes next month.
I go wherever you want.
Is there anybody else who wants to be on the finance committee? It's really fun. I've been on it for like 6 years.
It's not.
It isn't. No, I sounded like I was being facetious, but I mean, actually, it's really interesting. You get to learn the sort of back at the store kind of stuff.
Keep selling it. Keep selling it.
Obviously, the radio guy should be selling this way more than the chair should be. But anyway, if you would like to join, we would certainly have space for you, and we will make sure that, Mayor, that you get the invitation to attend. And, but yes, so, see, look at it, it's a fun group. It's Liz, it's.
We really need to
Matt,
have
it's-
more than.
We probably should have
We
another
should
person.
have one,
At
at least one. That's one of the previous ones, and then that's when we met in Timothy. Didn't we talk about committee assignments, and we said we wanted to wait until the new council members were on Yep. board? Now they're here.
All right, so Mayor Vaughn and Councilmember Conway.
I would,
Yeah, I learned about 22 years in the Marines and never volunteered for it.
I would nominate both distinguished gentlemen, one from Fort Collins and one from Melbourne,
Voluntold is different than volunteering.
to join the committee. And I will tell you, as one of the, well, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, it seems like a pretty true. I have found it's a good place to start because the finances are not specific to air quality, transportation, it's just finance, but it does give you a pretty good idea how the organization operates. And I think it would be a great place for you to start. And unfortunately, we're all busy. In order to have a quorum of 3, we need to have 5 members. And so we can conduct a lot of business with 3 people. I think I'm right on that quorum,
You are,
right?
yeah, all right.
So I'm not asking, it's not my job to ask for 100% attendance, but it would be a great place for you to start. And I'm not sure that there's any other committee spots available. Isn't that the only committee there is?
There's
We have HR.
HR, but they don't need
We
it.
try not to use that one.
Well, it means Elizabeth is on you.
So I'm sure your constituents would be very glad to see each of you volunteer without having to be nominated. I do have a press release prepared. Puts you in the best
You're
light
doing a great
possible.
job here.
Even though I haven't met either one of you until tonight, I think it'd be fantastic.
If you guys did sell electric cars, maybe wouldn't have had to reduce the capital.
So with that, we sure appreciate your
Volunteer.
Very good.
All right, looks like, all right, well.
My fiance is not gonna be happy, but yeah.
It's only once a month.
What?
It's online.
It's virtual.
So we're in log in from where you're at.
An hour at the most.
It's pretty.
And it's up, and there's months where we haven't met in that because there hasn't been a lot of business. And there's times when the meetings are 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We really need you to approve the quarterly financials and review the audit. That's your primary
Yes.
responsibilities.
And we can talk about how much you get paid when you get to your first day.
Did you see the financials?
Yes, the only thing is, I don't know if we get that check or not. So, all right, well, thanks. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor.
Well done.
Thank you, Mayor, for your service. He is, you're hired as the promoter. So with that, Finance Committee is written. TAC is written, quarter 4 tip modifications are written, Vanguard dashboard quarter 3 from 2025 is written. Colorado legislature updates are written. Mobility is written. So we'll move on to our first and only action item, which is the January 2026 tip amendment. And Jonathan. Oh, he's online. Oh, sorry. So Jonathan, do you want to just briefly introduce this item?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. The January 2026 tip amendment includes one project addition from Transport with the project Transport CNG bus purchase. This project features $4,838,610 of the Federal Transit Administration or FTA 5339C funding and $853,875 of the CDOT Clean Transit Enterprise or CTE funding, all in fiscal year 25 rolled. This project purchases 6 compressed natural gas or CNG buses. The public comment period opened on January 15th and will close on February 17th. The approval of this amendment is contingent on there being no public comments by the end of that period. NFRMPO staff note no disadvantages, and TAC recommended council approval of the January 2026 amendment to the fiscal year 24 through 27 tip at their meeting on January 21st.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item?
Can we do that one more time? We were still muted.
Can we do what? Oh.
Madam Chair, move to approve resolution 2026-03. I've never had to do 2 tapes.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Anyone abstaining? All right, the ayes have it. That passes. Our next item is a discussion item. It's MMOF and RMS funding deadlines. And Becky.
So I'm just here to provide an update and call your attention to 2 emails that were sent out late last year. These start on page 31 of your packet. So the first email went out in December, the first of the package went out at the end of December, and it is regarding MMOF and RMS projects with ARPA funding. So the work deadlines, all work must be completed on these projects by December 11th, 2026, and all the invoices must be submitted by January 4th, 2027. And there was only one project in the North Front Range on that list, which is a winter project, which I reached out to all of the project sponsors, and that one has been completed, so I am not sure why it's on the list, but it's on the list. And then the second one is MMOF and RMS projects with House Bill 1466 So the work deadline for that set of funding is December 31st, 2026, and the invoice deadline is January 31st, 2027. There are 5 North Front Range projects on that list. So 4 are listed as being North Front Range, and for whatever reason, Eaton is under Eastern TCR. I'm not sure why. But again, I reached out.
And we should be good. I talked to Greg about that one.
That's good, yes. So, and then the others, two in Fort Collins, one in Wells County, and one in Evans. And I heard back from the other project sponsors that either these projects are completed or will be completed by the deadline. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew about it, and that wasn't a surprise since it was all BCC. Not sure who got which email, and as it turned out, Elizabeth got one and I got the other, so, you know, that's how that works. But unless there's any questions, that's all that I have.
Any questions? Do we know, like, you know, just, there's some from the upper front, a few from the upper front range. Do you know, would CDOT be reaching out to the folks in different regions for the TPRs?
My assumption is yes, but also could be Evans might reach out. He's the staff.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Just curious. Just because I might reach out to Wellington. If somebody hasn't, but it can't hurt to do it.
Yeah, we were blind CC, so we don't know who it all
We have no idea. Yeah.
Okay. We'll find out. All right. Any questions for Becky?
Do you want me to send you my information that Ray sent me?
Sure, that would be helpful.
He gave me an email on things I should tell you about.
Oh, okay.
So
that works.
I will read it to you.
Sounds good.
All right, well, I'm glad everybody is going to meet their deadlines, and it's like in the North range, so good work, everyone. Way to spend those dollars. All right, one-time dollars on one-time projects, right? All right, we will move on. Our next is council reports, and Cecil Gutierrez, our transportation commissioner, is up.
Thank you, Chair. I have been reporting to you for the last several months about the 10-year plan. And by the way, the 10-year plan is online for public comment. I would encourage everyone to go on there, on the CDOT website, and please make the public comments. And I'm sure you will have a few after I finish my report here this evening. As at our last meeting, it was regions 1, 2, and 4, which is basically the east side of the state that presented the projects. And it was rather interesting because I am on the subcommittee of the 10-year plan and the Greenhouse Gas Committee. And we reviewed the presentations and made comments and suggestions. We get to the meeting and we got thrown what I consider a real spitball at our presentation. All of a sudden, on the I-25 corridor overview, was started off with Mustang services, which had not been presented to our subcommittee. And the very first bullet point on their slide, I will read to you. Any new projects improving I-25 in the next plan will be predicated on fully funding Mustang mainline services at the expanded service levels on routes serving I-70 and I-25. So I'll let you absorb that for a minute, because when I saw that in the packet, I'm sure you know that I probably had a real reaction to that. Then they went on to say, which is kind of interesting. To me, I would always give the good news first, and then you know, put all the bad news at the very end, because the very next comment says that Mustang connects major populations along these two corridors, and it provided 353,000 trips in fiscal year 2025, a 245% increase in ridership since the program launched in 2015. Great news. That's awesome news. But then a couple of bullet points later, North Line recovered 31% of operating expenses via the fare box in fiscal year 25, a national leader among commuter bus services. So when I heard all three of these things about how great things were, it just made me wonder why everything was predicated on funding bus staying only off of I-25 dollars. And so I had I think I had a few choice statements to make during that meeting about that, because then we were asked as CTIO members about our intentions of funding these corridors, I-25 and 270. And of course, we have been wanting to do that for years. And so it was a no-brainer. But then we were also asked if we were wanting to try to help fund Bustang. Well, of course, everybody wants to fund Bustang, but I think, and now look, I always try to give you factual data and not give you editorial comments. But quite frankly, I think I'm going to give you editorial comments tonight based on my conjecture. It is my conjecture that that there will be legislation that will try to somehow amend the CTIO documents to allow us to fund Bustang. And so that's why that's on there, because I believe it's to try to get people to not oppose that legislation that's coming. Now, what you do with that, I will let you all decide. In the meantime, I will tell you that we have not had a chance to look at the dollars, but I'm going, and again, I try to give you data. But having been through the budget for 7 years, ready to do the 8th budget for CTIO, having gone through a number of other financial pieces through the years, I am convinced, and we won't know until probably March when we get the full numbers. I am convinced that we can fund fully I-25 with with our revenue from our tolling along the I-25. We can fully fund I-25. I'm a firm believer in that because of the numbers that I've seen in previous budgets. Now 270 has been tied to this in some ways, and 270 is a bigger challenge because I think what will have to happen is there will have to be funding that'll have to come from CTIO at an even greater amount of dollars than I-25. And so we'll have to take a look at how we're going to do that. It's interesting that they're coming after funding from I-25, and yet without fixing I-25 and without finishing I-25 lanes, I don't believe in, and I could be wrong. I don't, because I can't give you the data yet, but I think it'll be a struggle to get 270 done without finishing I-25 first. That's just, and I will be perfectly honest right up front here with you. This is a very personal opinion about that. And we'll know more in March, and I will update you then after the March meeting. So I think that's about the most important thing that I can tell you came out of the last meeting. And we will probably not see this plan, the 10-year plan, up for adoption until April. I heard a rumor today that it may be pushed out to May, and I think when I start hearing those kinds of rumors, that it's to try to get to the it's trying to make sure that the legislation is all done before they approve the plan. That's kind of where I'm at. And I'll open it up to any questions you all may have.
Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Commissioner Gutierrez, for your presentation. I am curious. I have a cursory knowledge of enterprises. You have a much better knowledge than I do. When an enterprise is formed, it's given specific guardrails by which it can distribute money. Talk to me about the guardrails that are around the CTIO enterprise, and does the legislature have the authority to change those?
Simply, yes, there are significant guardrails, and yes, the legislature can change those, but there are also constitutional issues that will arise when it comes to the use of enterprise funds, because yeah, so it's a really complicated issue and to try to condense it down into just a few minutes here is really tough. There's issues that are there are things in the Constitution that say you must do this as an enterprise. There are certain things in legislation that say you must do this as an enterprise. There are things in Tabor that say you must do this as an enterprise. There are the legislation that set up HPTE has certain guardrails within it. So, but anything that's in legislation, the legislature can change, but then they have to be very cautious that they're not jeopardizing the enterprise status of CTIO, or yeah, or getting into trouble with Tabor, quite frankly.
I agree with you on the constitutional conflicts, both from an enterprise and a Tabor standpoint. Furthermore, I believe that when one utilizes a facility that contributes to an enterprise, say I decide to drive a toll lane, I know I am going to be billed for using that toll lane, and I know where the money goes, and I know why it goes there. To me, even if they do conjure up all this, and Cecil, while you're new to editorial comments, I am not, sir. And I can tell you that this legislature cares one iota about the Constitution, federal or otherwise. But even if you do go against that Constitution, I think it is disingenuous it's disingenuous to try to take money from people who have invested in a certain way. For example, I went down the toll lane knowing fully where my money would go. If you from magically this point forward say, hey, that money, Scott, that you invested, well, that's going to this different place now. Well, I might not have chose to use that enterprise. It's disingenuous. My editorial comments are
Any other questions for Cecil? So, I mean, so what we're saying is that they're probably not generating enough revenue on I-70 to fund Mustang on I-70. So they're going to probably, is that, I mean, there's just, North I-25 is kind of the cash cow when it comes to like the toll lanes, right?
That's correct. And North I-25, by the way. So here's one of the this coming meeting, we will have a joint meeting or a joint workshop between CTIO and the Transportation Commission, where they're going to go more in depth to on the Mustang funding and where they are, where they're getting their money, and all of those kinds of things. Because quite frankly, when this came up, my question was, you're asking us to fund Mustang, but we don't even know what the problem is. And they kind of threw a figure out there of $30 to $40 million. Well, you know, that really doesn't tell me anything. And so some of the questions that I am going to ask, and just so you know, is what is the ratio of fare box in all of the other corridors, the I-70 corridor as compared to the I-25 corridor. I know that the North I-25 corridor is 31%. What is it on the south part of I-25? What is it on I-70 Central? What is it on I-70 West? And those are the kinds of answers that I'm going to be looking for, and in this next meeting, at this next meeting.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that they're putting all of this, they're putting all the emphasis on trying to fund Mustang all on I-25 North. That's what it seems like to me.
Going back to Mr. Jake's question on the enterprises, I mean, I'm familiar with the enterprise, how they work, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the constitutional aspects and the state law aspects are not singularly set in there. They're all encompassing over enterprise, aren't they? So if you change one, it changes all. So it's not just an enterprise that goes along with transportation, changes other enterprises to go along with that, or am I incorrect?
The other enterprises, each of those enterprises has their own legislation that set them up. CTE had their own legislation that set them up. The Bridge and Tunnel Enterprise, and again, all of these are restricted funds. So the legislation they're looking at is solely to change the way that CTIO operates, not the other enterprises.
Yeah, I mean, when I was on the NAPME, there was legislation that tried to change some, where where those dollars were going, and that was, we were surprised that was allowed, but it was. So I think it is. I don't know where the constitutional aspect comes in, but I think legislatively you can change some of that.
So based on Transportation Commissioner Gutierrez's comments, I could probably use some direction from the council, because we were just going to essentially make comments supporting the 10-year plan. I mean, does his presentation and his comments change the perspective of the comments you would like us to make as an MPO?
Did he just nod?
I'm sorry, whoever's been speaking, it's all broken up and I can't hear.
I believe this body should take a stance of vehement opposition to said predication. Stop milking the cow, you're going to kill it, for crying out loud. And milking the cow allows us to keep the milk at home and finish I-25 before you take it elsewhere. I question the constitutionality of this, but not a nation of laws, we never will be. We're a nation of political will, and we always will be. And the political will apparently is to arm sweep whatever we damn well please. But I think this body should be a little bit stronger than that and oppose it. I get the sentiments, but allow the money to stay on the corridor that generates the money, at least until that corridor is complete. Because I think that is my suggestion for testimony. I'd be glad to offer it if you would like.
And you can submit your own comments in the community. Just a reminder.
Yeah.
I guess I was looking more for, like, if Transportation Commissioner Gutierrez really feels like if you guys are opposing it, if there really will be retribution to I-25. And if that is the case and that is something he feels strongly about, I just want this body to be aware that that could impact new projects on
I-25. Elizabeth, I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear that. You all are breaking up. It's like, yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how to frame it and how confident you are that if the communities oppose making comments on the comment form about I-25 and expanded Mustang service needing to support it, do you really feel like that if the communities fight this, that they won't get new projects on I-25?
Yeah. I think I think that's what this predicated means to me. If predicated, I looked it up in the dictionary just because I wanted to make sure I knew what I was. This doesn't happen. So it's I just see it as that's what they're saying. If you know, we've got to deal with the Mustang funding before we do anything on I-25, and that's segments 2, 3, 4, all of it.
So maybe council, the conversation that we can submit comments for as an NPO is that we support Mustang and we support, you know, it in our region, and we would like them to find a different funding source to support operations for Mustang service that aren't contingent upon I-25 improvements. Yeah, maybe just something simple like that.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I think that even I-25 Mustang would be, I mean, I would make a case that we should fund I-25 Mustang though. I mean, that helps, you know.
Well, you said that it's pulling its own weight though, so.
It is,
Well, it's
I mean,
not, yeah,
31%.
31%, I mean, like, but more than the others.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would hesitate to fully fund things that aren't pulling their own weight at the risk of then not getting anything else. Like, then you don't have the money to do our other projects because we're, you know, I would love if they found a different funding.
I would say that, I mean, I'm gonna spitball here, not at Cecil, but just spitball in general, and say that I think that I think they want to fund Mustang. It's not funding itself. A lot of things don't fund themselves. That's what the government does. You know, I mean, we don't, you know, I don't pay enough taxes to build every single road that I drive on. So I think that they want to make this connection between Mustang and these roads, but I mean, it would be not. I think that Mustang North I-25 has real value, and it keeps some people off those roads. I mean, it clearly, if the ridership's gone up 245%, I mean, it is doing something to help those roads be less congested. I don't know that if we argue that whole thing that we're gonna, you know, we're gonna get it or we're not gonna get penalized. I mean, we could probably try, but I think we just need to be sort of careful about the wording that we use, and because I do think Mustang is a value in our communities.
Please do not get me wrong. I am a big proponent of funding Mustang. What I don't like is when we use this to try to pound a square peg into a round hole. I am 100% behind Mustang. It is not that at all. This is not about Mustang. To me, it's about trying them trying to pass legislation and using this kind of method to keep any kind of comments down. It's the school bully asking me for my lunch money. I mean, we were 100% on board trying to figure it out. We were ready to figure it out, but that's where I'm at. It's all about, you know, this is it's not a good look from my perspective. It's not a good way to do business.
Council member?
So yeah. I want Mustang. I have supported Mustang. I've been a big cheerleader for Mustang, and will continue to be.
Okay, well, we're going to give the floor to Council Member Jenkins.
Yeah, just a quick comment. It seems to me that that the funds generated through the CTIO within the I-25 corridor should be spent within the I-25 corridor and support further development of I-25 as needed and support Mustang within the I-25 corridor. The rub is when the money is taken out of the corridor to fund Mustang in other areas. That's, to my mind, that's really the rub. So, supporting Mustang makes sense with CTIO funds that are generated within the corridor to support Mustang operations within the corridor, not statewide. That doesn't make
Well,
sense.
I don't think it's totally statewide. I think it's I-70, right? It's not the outrider kind of services. It's just the, right, yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's my.
I mean, there are people probably that ride the Mustang and then get on the I-70 Mustang. Is there a way to say that people who lived on the I-25 corridor, who use the I-70 corridor as well? I mean, maybe, I don't know. I think Mustang is beneficial to our communities, and I think I-70 is too. It's harder to make a case why that should fund that. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I have, and I'll join you in your support of Mustang. I as much of a transit skeptic as I am, I have always been supportive of Mustang. I will continue to support Mustang. It's scalable, it's affordable, it works. That being said, Commissioner Gutierrez, I'm curious, is there an objective criteria by which CDOT fishes or cuts bait on a Mustang route? When do they decide that their recovery rate is just too low and it doesn't make any sense to run this route any further?
I don't have that information. Maybe I'll find out more next month. So, yeah.
I would ask for those objective criteria.
They're doing that right now. So that outrider
So they're
service.
making it up as they
That
go.
outrider service, so you remember that comment form about eliminating the outrider service from Sterling to Greeley?
Yeah.
So they evaluated, it doesn't have high ridership, but they did see that the Sterling to Denver has very high ridership, and so they're expanding the service along that corridor and eliminating the other service.
There must be an objective set of criteria. My opinion. Common sense is a big beat.
Well, we can, I don't know how we want to move forward. I mean, it sounds like we might want to submit a letter. I mean, we might want to be careful.
So the MPO, I could just submit comments saying we support Region 4's 10-year plan,
Yes.
and leave it at that. In each community, you guys can submit your own comments.
There you go.
Okay. All right, I think there's going to be some comments submitted.
Given.
Any other questions before we move on? All right, well, thank you, Cecil.
Commissioner Stevens, just one more comment. I think your comment is right on the money. A letter coming from, I think coming from the MPO needs to just support the 10-year plan as it's constituted right at the moment. Until you see legislation, if it's going to come, you can't comment on it, quite frankly.
Right.
That's true.
You've done the last 3 days.
All right, so that's how we'll proceed. I had already given support of the 10-year plan before any of this came to light in front of the Transportation Commission as they were considering and looking at that Region 4's 10-year plan. We'll do that letter and then we'll see what comes forward and then we can act appropriately. All right, well, thanks, Cecil. Appreciate the heads up. As Cecil says, always lead with the good news, right? So with that in mind, we will turn things over to our host, council member, our host, Mayor Julie Klein, and she'll do the report.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming. I think last year we had it at our new police station when you guys came to this meeting, and this time this is our old police station with a new face.
That's why you spend it over here.
We're just throwing it, making it rain. Okay, so, but this is our community development building. So we have our water resources, economic development, engineering, planning over in this facility. So thank you for coming. And even if your Apple Maps didn't quite get you here. So some of our upcoming upcoming construction projects that we have Colorado Boulevard and Crossroads Boulevard, our roundabout that we're putting up there. It's crazy. I know that quite a few years ago, I think it was like started at 4 million. We're at like 7 million. We think it'll cost because, costs always continue to go up. We're working on utility work, widening it to 4 lanes. We did receive official notification today that we did receive a congressionally directed spending of $500,000 for that. We thought they forgot a zero though, so I really was hoping it was going to be 5 million, but we got $500,000, so we'll take that. And that project also has some STBG grant funding of about 1.1 million. So we're moving forward. That schedule, spring of 2026 through the end of the year, kind of just keep working on the utility work and getting everything else going on it. Will County Road 13, Colorado Boulevard realignment. So that's a $2.2 million project realigning Colorado Boulevard near our Kyger Reservoir, so heading towards Timneth, Jacoby Road. So that's got 1.2 million of STBG funding, and that's starting this summer. Crossroads Boulevard Railroad Crossing, so maintenance project with Great Western Railway to repair the rough crossing on State Highway 257, replacing crossing panels, tracks, fixing roadway approaches, signs, stripping, and sidewalks. Again, that happens this spring. Then we have 3 other projects that are in design and studies. So our Windsor Lake Road, County Road 70, roadway extension to County Road 19 to Colorado 257. We're going to create a new roadway connection between County Road 19, Hollister Lake Road, and 257. Final design should be completed into this year, next year, and we'll tie in with our new development. And it's going to help clear a way that will go directly to our police department. So this is going to help hopefully get some traffic off of Main Street at some point. So that's construction timeline won't be low till 27, 28. State Highway 392, our corridor safety study. So we're still building on our Vision Zero roadway action plan. So interested about all the other safety things that Elizabeth talked about earlier. Focusing on Will County Road 21 to I-25, just the safety on there, which crazy enough, when I was heading to Fort Collins earlier today, there was an accident right on the top of I-25 and 392 that was nicely blocking everything. So safety is probably a good thing to look at there. Also, State Highway 392 road widening design. We're still been working on that. That's coming on down into town, Highland Meadows to Colorado Boulevard. Estimated construction costs are still $34 million. Because there's a bridge that goes over to the river there, and it's the grading to make sure that we can put a trail beside it. There's a lot of things going on with that. We're going to try again. I think I'm looking at Scott. Is this our 4th year? Yeah. And we're trying for the bill grant application of 25 million, maybe 4th time's the charm. So those are the things we got going on here.
The MPO just submitted a letter of support and Fort Collins for their build application as well. So it's that time,
Awesome. Yeah, 4 times the charm. So. But thanks again for making me here to Windsor.
Thanks for having us.
I didn't do the staff report. We basically heard all the 10-year plans from regions 1, 2, and 4. And discussed PD 1601 interchange approval process. I don't know if Elizabeth wants to.
.0 and .1.
Yes. Bill.
procedural and policy.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anything we need to add about that.
No, they're just starting the discussions for updating the 1601 policy directive and procedure directive, so there'll be more to come. There'll be plenty of opportunity to comment on the changes.
Yeah, more opportunities to comment. So with that, is there any other business for this board? Seeing none, will you stand adjourned? Thanks, everyone.